Higher status people are excited about where they're going in life and what they're actually doing. And their focus stays very much on their own behavior rather than the outcome of a situation. So this book looks at how you can become higher status and potentially achieve more with your life. People tend to make snap judgments about people and their status, so ideally try and dress sharply because it takes effort to reverse these first impressions. But remember, everybody wants that greater sense of purpose. Also, status and possession of resource are completely separate qualities. The world will actually take the judgment that you place upon yourself. So be kind to yourself when you're judging yourself. Looking at actors, they obviously have to play a wide variety of parts. But if you try and get them to play somebody who has a high status, many techniques don't actually work. But what does work is saying to the actor, try and just play a higher status than the person that you're acting with. And in essence, it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than think your way into a new way of acting. Regarding rapport, it's very interesting. If you're high status, you may not actually be trying to achieve rapport. This argues that others should be seeking rapport with yourself. So don't change your body language in response to the environment. That can make you appear powerful. Also, use strong postures like steepling with your hands, and be sure not to cover your torso, as this could be interpreted as a sign of weakness. So, high status, it even comes off in the voice. You want it to be authoritative, clear, unaffected, and by that, not varied by the people who are around you. If you don't change it, similar to trying to change yourself to gain rapport, that makes you appear of lower status, interesting, and actually deliberately breaking rapport at times. And the reason that is because people generally pick up patterns of how people speak. And once you've deciphered that particular pattern, you then become desensitized to it and kind of tune out. When you change your vocal tonality and the speed at which you speak, or the volume, then you're actually preventing listeners from finding that pattern and tune out. In essence, if you want to model anybody, think of Russell Brand, how he changes his voice. One small degree of change clearly can have a massive impact on everything, and it can often be time that it'll take before it's easy to notice. So how do you get this 1 degree of small change? Well, it's all about optimizing and changing your habits. I liked how you think of changing a habit from one thing to another. You could break it down into 3 phases, days 1 to 10, in which you're resisting your old mediocre habits that are trying to grab you down. And basically at that point you're putting your effort into resisting these habits. Day 11 to 20 is defying the old phase, in which you start to build momentum towards the new habit. Days 21 to 30 are really the adaptation phase, and that's at the point where you actually are beginning to adapt to the new habit. Sure, there will still be times where you need to focus to avoid slip-ups, but once you can get past day 30, often it's just a new habit that you've got. Change. It's important, it's constant, but it can be intimidating for other people, and also difficult for them to accept if you're trying to improve yourself to become a better person. So don't let others deter you from your quest of self-improvement. Remember, you're on your own path to a high status destiny, and the hard truth is that sadly most people probably aren't. When you think about purpose and what you want to achieve, you think about stories in your life. And JFK, the former US president, actually at one point before becoming a president, was on a ship that was sunk by a Japanese warship, and he ended up stranded on an island. And he actually managed to lead the men to another small island a few miles away, whilst dragging a injured colleague despite his sore back. Now, what actually got him through this was thinking one day he'll be able to say the experience from that story could inspire others. Little did he know that that would be then used to inspire the whole world through this video. But as I say, I'm very grounded. I know I can only put effort into my behaviour, not the outcome of this video, which is clearly unlikely to reach millions. But if it has, I stand corrected. See, in life, you want crazy, unexpected challenges, and how you yourself controlled your state to overcome these, fight through these challenges, and that's what makes you as an individual interesting. So there's a few things that you can do to control your state as a high status person, and this state is in essence how you're feeling in that moment. It's interpretation, how you decide to interpret the environment that is around you. Awareness of what is actually happening. Having a good, balanced, nutritious diet, and also taking care of your health. There's a lot about physical anchoring, and that's if you're feeling like your state is going down, you're feeling like you're depleted on energy, fatigued, something bad happens. You can actually just start doing big physical movements, perhaps jumping up and down and screaming. This is in the book, I'm not going to say it and do it, but I love myself, I love the world. And therefore, what you can do in just a few moments, by getting your body moving, hyping yourself, you can actually reset your state to a higher level rather than feeling fatigued. And you can almost do this immediately. Another hack you may want to try is a thought loop. These ideally should be personal and unique to you. Perhaps incorporating words or adjectives that vibe the kind of person that you are. So just make sure they're positive and easy to repeat. Laughably, the author, not me, the author of the book, his favourite loop is to tell himself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. I personally don't want to show how divergent my view is from the author. Some of this high status stuff is not my personal views. That's his I love myself. Well, I'm certainly not feeling a love or admiration for this gentleman who is so grandiose to write something like that. Nonetheless, it's a good book. Let's not get sidetracked. So if you're worried about things, you can also use these thought loops. So for example, some people wouldn't like holding eye contact, and what they may say to themselves is, am I going to die because of holding eye contact? And hopefully the answer is no. Then they will challenge themselves to overcome something that is potentially limiting them. You may want to also build your confidence with physical challenges or meditation. There's this concept of Kaizen. This is continuous improvement, and you really need to keep Kaizening. Continue to become higher and higher status every day. Keep self-correcting. Never judge yourself at any point along the way. Enjoy finding ways that you can get even better. Finding ways that you can grow. Finding new ways to love. Finding ways to achieve things that you never thought you could. Set goals that are so grand that you won't be able to achieve them in this lifetime. That way, you'll remain passionate, excited, and consistently evolving, trying to follow your ambitions and goals. Carefree. This is a concept that is important if you want to be high status. Now, let's say if you're carefree, you're focusing not on an outcome. You're focusing on your actions, because it's our actions that are entirely within our circle of influence. And most outcomes are actually out with what we can actually directly influence, and they're actually out with our circle of concern. Because if you're only concerned with what you can influence, you won't be concerned about other things. So there was an interesting story about Steve Jobs when he was interacting with the King of Spain. Many people would be nervous with this. What he actually did, he sold a computer to the King of Spain after speaking to him. And he didn't worry about impressing the king. He just focused on having a great conversation, practicing his sales skills, enjoying the fun, and just going for it. And if the king had said no, he didn't want a computer, or ended the conversation early, Jobs was not going to judge himself by that outcome. Carefree people do not have zero concerns. They just have a much bigger circle of influence than a circle of concern. And people who are carefree are keenly aware and highly focused on the things that they can control. If you almost want to imagine anybody who's carefree, think of the fictitious character Harvey Specter in Suits. He doesn't feel a need to do things to gain validation because he's certain of himself. And he has a big circle of influence, and his circle of concerns are small. Having watched all of Suits, at times I would say Harvey Specter isn't carefree, but there's an example. And if you haven't watched Suits, it's better to watch my YouTube channel, to be honest with you. You'll learn more, I assure you of that. And if you find yourself relying on evaluations that other people have of you, you may want to take a step back and think about the coach who knows you the best, and that is you. Evaluate yourself wholly on your behaviours. Just remember, it's on your behaviours, not your outcomes. Now, thinking about people, although this book sounds very self-centred, interacting with other people is what makes life special, I believe. And how you can actually gather new acquaintances and become close to them as if you're their closest friend in a matter of minutes. I've got a hack for you. It's not a hard and fast checklist, because that would just seem artificial and disgenuine. It's a genuine process. But if you can steer a conversation, the first conversation that you have with people, to find out what their main goal is in life, the thing they fear the most, perhaps the names of their friends, their family members, and their great passions, and manage to share at least one inside joke, then you will be establishing great rapport. And another way of establishing rapport is to share a secret, and at times you'll even hear a secret back. If you want to impress others and appear as if you're high status, then you must act with certainty. I like this study it mentioned. I didn't check, it could have just been made up, but it was about somebody crossing the road. If they crossed with certainty, 7 times more people were going to follow than if they hesitated and then crossed. Another thing I'd just say about the media, it trains us to focus on what's wrong, what's not right, and what's not positive. So therefore, be sure to bank any compliments that you receive, because that can help you get through life, which is clearly hard at times. If you want to be high status, you first need to capture people's attention. If you cannot do that, you won't be able to signal your high status and be unforgettable. So without attention, there's no influence. And without influence, there's no opportunity to build. So be around others who are also hungry. You don't want to lose your hunger. You want and be content just going along at the same level. You want to stay hungry, push harder. In an environment actually that is of high value, is surrounding yourself with people who are wanting the same goals for themselves by pushing themselves to get the most out of their life that they can. You don't want to be surrounded by people who are like crabs in a bucket. If one crab tries to escape, another crab will just pull it down. So be a doer, not a talker. Actually be an action taker. be a leader. If you think of eagles and ducks, an eagle will soar through the sky, hunt their prey. They'll fiercely protect their families, move with purpose and pride. Ducks, on the other hand, basically just waddle about, crapping and quacking. And they talk a lot, but they don't get a lot done. So go out and soar, be that eagle, and I'll see you next time.